Hello, boys and girls. This is Miss Bomar, and I am back for a new reading lesson with you today. I hope you've had a chance to watch the video going over your quiz answers from yesterday. If you haven't, go ahead and watch that first and check your quiz questions and see how many you got correct, and then come back and watch this video. So today we are going to go over something that we had already gone over in school, but I wanted to go back and talk about it again because it is one of those more tricky reading skills that we need to keep practicing with to make sure that we continue to understand it. So today we are going to be talking about main idea and supporting details. So main idea, I bet some of you can tell me what main idea is, but I want you to think about it just for a second. When we read a story, like yesterday we read our story and one of the questions asked us about the main idea of what we read. Okay? So the main idea of a story is what the story is mostly about, or the most important part of the story. Okay, so the main idea is what the story is mostly about. So when we read that story, when we get to the end of any story that we read, we should be able to tell somebody else what the main idea of that story was. So what that story was mostly about. Okay, so yesterday we read a story about the Canada geese. So if I asked you, what was the main idea of that story? You wouldn't tell me that Canada geese live in one place in the winter, because that's not what the story was mostly about. That doesn't give me a good main idea to understand what really you read in that story. Now, that is a good supporting detail. Now, we always talk about supporting details, and supporting details always go along with our main idea. So we have supporting details, and supporting details are details that support the main idea. Okay? So what details help us know what the story was mostly about? Okay? What helps us know that? So when we talk about the main idea, we have details that go along with that main idea. Okay, so if I said the main idea of yesterday's story was how Canada geese migrate to the north, and they either stop in the United States or they go farther into Canada and stay there and go to their nest for previous years. Okay? That would be the main idea, that they are migrating to a new place, that they're going north during the springtime. Okay? Now, some main ideas that I could add to that would support the main idea, that would help me understand that, yes, that is the main idea of the story, could be that geese have a leader that lead them through the sky. Okay? That geese look for their nests from previous years. That's how they know where to stop. That they change leaders several times, that they have a different leader throughout their journey. Okay, those are some good supporting details that help us understand our big main idea, our big thing that the story was about. Okay, so today I'm going to do a little activity with you. And I'm going to show you some materials that I've taken from my kitchen, and each of the materials that I show you is going to be a supporting detail. Okay, so this is kind of a more fun, hands-on activity. We're not going to actually do a story today, but we are going to practice with supporting details and main idea. So I'm going to show you the items that I've chosen from my kitchen one at a time. And the items that I show you one at a time are going to be those important supporting details that are going to help us understand and know what our big main idea is. Okay? So I'm going to show you one item at a time. And while I'm showing you the items, your supporting details, I want you to be thinking in your head, what would all of these items, all of these supporting details what would they come together to make? Okay, and that is going to be your main idea. Okay, so the first object, your first supporting detail that I'm going to show you is this. Okay, strawberry jam or jelly. Sometimes I call it jelly. Strawberry jam. So this is one of your supporting details. Okay, this is the first item, the first supporting detail is what we're going to call it, that is going to support what our main idea might be. Okay, so there's some strawberry jam. I want you to be thinking. Okay, the next thing I'm going to show you is a butter knife. Okay, just a regular kitchen butter knife. That is your next supporting detail. So far we have a supporting detail of strawberry jelly and a butter knife. Okay, so start thinking about, those are your two supporting details so far. How are those adding to what you think the main idea might be? Okay, the next supporting detail that I'm going to show you is a loaf of bread. Okay, loaf of bread. Some of you might be catching on already to what you think the main idea, the big topic that we are talking about is. Okay, so far we've had a supporting detail of strawberry jelly, a supporting detail of a butter knife, and a supporting detail of a loaf of bread. Okay, now I bet some of you can guess what your last supporting detail is going to be, but I'm going to show you. We've got peanut butter. Okay, your last supporting detail is a jar of peanut butter. Okay, so this is just like a story. When we read a story, we have these little parts in our story, those little supporting details that are scattered throughout our story. We haven't put them all together yet, but we know that each of them are important. This is an important supporting detail for what our main idea is going to be. Okay? Each of those supporting details are really important parts to your story. And all of those supporting details come together to help you know and understand what the main idea of that story is, what this story is mostly about. Okay, so now I can bet most of you know what the main idea is already, but if you don't, when we put all of these supporting details together, so when we put the bread and the peanut butter and the jelly and the butter knife all together, when we put all of those supporting details together, we can understand and know that our main idea is a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. Okay, so that's a hands-on way for me to explain to you how we do that in a story. Okay, because all of those details that I showed you are really important parts that we put together to get our big, important peanut butter and jelly sandwich. Okay? So that's the same thing as when you're reading a story. You have all these really important supporting details that you need to pay attention to and focus on, and then at the end of the story, we put all of those supporting details together to make our big main idea, what our story was mostly about. Okay? So I want you to think about that each time that I ask you about the main idea of a story. I want you to think about our peanut butter and jelly, how each of those supporting details are important, but they're not the main idea. Okay? Like the jelly is an important supporting detail, it's an important item, but that wouldn't be our whole main idea, the most important thing that we're talking about. That would just be a part of it that is adding to our big important part, which is the peanut butter and jelly sandwich. Okay, so I want you to be thinking about that and focusing on that, because tomorrow we're going to practice with an actual story. So tomorrow we're going to be reading a story together, and we're going to really focus on our supporting details and how all of those fit together to form the most important part of the story, the main idea. Okay, so what I want you to do today is I want you to think back to one of the stories that we read while we were still in school. We read Wish, or you can think of the stories that I've read on here so far. We've read Thank You, Mr. Falker. You can think of any of the stories that any of your teachers read while we were still in school. And I want you to put a comment on my video for today and tell me what you think the main idea of that story was. Okay, and we're going to get a little bit of practice before we read our story tomorrow and talk about the supporting details and main idea. Okay, so I can't wait to read your comments, and I will see you tomorrow.